Hey guys, this is Calvin Williams with Impruver Technologies, and this is Feature Highlight. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the strategy deployment feature that's baked into Impruver and the implications it could have on your organization's effectiveness. Now you might be asking, why is there a strategy deployment feature baked into a continuous improvement or lean manufacturing software? Well, the reason is because you don't have all the resources in the world to commit to continuous improvement. You also don't have all the resources in the world available to commit to strategy deployment. So the strategy play here is to use your limited CI resources to effectively deploy your strategy. In essence, your strategy is the specific few things that will allow your company to create the most possible value for your customers and for your business. So it only makes sense to leverage your CI function as a mechanism to deploy your strategy. Okay, so before we dive into the feature itself, let's dive into strategy deployment a little deeper. Most good strategies start with the top. Now, when it comes to continuous improvement, the thing you don't want to do is do what's called random improvement. This is similar to what I call polishing the doorknobs on the Titanic. It's nice to have beautiful, shiny doorknobs, but I'd much rather have someone looking out for icebergs if I'm on the Titanic, okay? The same is true for your business. You don't want that ship to sink either. The key thing with lean manufacturing and continuous improvement is you don't just want to go out in your factories randomly making improvements and using lean tools. You want to deploy your energy and your resources and your efforts in the direction that's going to make the greatest possible impact for the company. And this is what your strategy exists for. This is what leadership has deemed the things you could do to make the greatest possible impact for the company in terms of creating value. Most good strategies start at the top. I'm gonna drop a quick framework and I'm gonna show you what strategy deployment is. Okay, and there's two aspects. The first aspect is strategy development. Now, that's one thing where you're saying, all right, these are the critical few things. The second part is strategy deployment. And that's what the focus of this conversation is today, okay? Most companies start their strategy with the CEO. I'm gonna assume your company is no exception. So let's start with the CEO. So with every strategy, there's two components. There's people and there's objectives. When we talk objectives, we're talking the things that are most important to improve. Of course, there are things you wanna start doing and also things you wanna stop doing. But in this example, we're gonna focus on the things that are most important to improve, okay? So let's say the CEO does his or her analysis of the market, the business, the surrounding environment, and so forth. And they come up with a set of objectives that are most critical for the company. And they say, you know what, these are the critical few. These are the things that are most important to change or improve, okay? And there's a reason I'm only putting 3 up here, because focus, the more focus, the better, the more effective strategy you can have, okay? All right, there's really 3 key factors of strategy deployment. And if you're doing these 3 things right, you got this down. The first important piece is called vertical alignment. This is literally the deployment process. So you're deploying from one level in the organization to another level, okay? And let's say that there are several people at this deeper level in the organization, right? So that's the first critical piece. We'll call this vertical alignment. Now, once that's done, there needs to be a feedback loop. This is what secures the alignment of the strategy, okay? The purpose of the feedback loop is to allow the CEO to ensure that the strategy has been effectively deployed, so not just talked about, but actually understood and is being acted upon, but also that the objectives that are developed at this level are actually in alignment with the CEO's objectives. So that's critical step number 2. There's a third critical step. If this is left out, could cause major problems for your company. This step is called horizontal alignment. Once you've got vertical alignment and once the feedback is done and there's some massaging that's done at that stage, then there needs to be horizontal alignment. Once each member has submitted their strategies and gotten feedback, there's a third step for horizontal alignment that needs to happen to massage and make sure there's no cross-functional conflicts within the next level down in the organization. Let's recap. First, there's vertical alignment. Second, there's the feedback loop, and then the sort of a negotiation based on that. And then third is the horizontal alignment across functions, okay? If you're doing those three things well, you've gotten strategy deployment at its core essence. Now, it doesn't mean you've executed your strategy. It just means that you've gotten everyone aligned behind the same strategic agenda. Essentially, you just put those three steps on the wash, rinse, repeat loop until you've deployed strategy throughout the entire organization. So this is CEO, this is executive team. You would essentially do this same thing with the next level down and then the same thing with the next level down, okay? You get the idea. Each level creating a set of objectives, and that's essentially strategy deployment in a nutshell, okay? So what are the critical factors to success for strategy deployment? Let's cover that now. So the first critical factors, first and foremost, is focus. Like I said, you don't have unlimited resources to devote to deploying strategy in some of these administrative functions. You also don't have unlimited resources to devote to continuous improvement and lean manufacturing type activities. It only makes sense to leverage any improvement activity against your strategy. Like I said, your leadership team has already decided that the strategy are the critical, most important things to help the company be successful in the future. The point of continuous improvement is also to prepare the company for a successful future. Your CI function is your vehicle, it's your machine that helps drive your strategy into fruition. So the key thing there is focus. That's the most important thing. The second most important thing is called vertical alignment. You want to make sure that the ideas and the thinking and the thought process behind what creates your strategy at the highest level cascade effectively to subsequent levels in the organization. That's vertical alignment. The third most important thing is the feedback loop. Here, you're just validating that the strategy is understood as it cascades, and you're validating that what folks at the subsequent level are committing to, and it's better to actually have them commit themselves to it than have it being dictated to them what they're going to do to help the strategy. So that personal commitment, they can apply their passions, their energies into helping the company move in the right direction. The fourth critical to success factor in strategy deployment is horizontal alignment. And what this does is just keeps interfunctional conflict and just misaligned agendas to a minimal within your organization. Very important. And then the fifth piece is what I call the deployment mechanism. Okay, so this is where a lot of companies don't quite get to, and this is key. In fact, there's some numbers out there that says something like 90% of strategies fail. That sounds a bit high, but I can certainly attest to from personal experience that there is a big opportunity to improve the way companies deploy strategy. So this is a big piece, the deployment mechanism, right? And what that is essentially putting the muscle, putting the management systems, putting the tools, putting the resources behind ensuring that strategy gets successfully deployed. You should not come into a strategy deployment session year after year only to have the conversation that the things we committed to last year just didn't get done because we had other priorities. And perhaps that's true, but that's still no excuse, right? It's almost like you're selling the future of the company for the present. You don't want to fall into that pattern of business management. So you might be wondering, what can a software or a technology like Impruver do to help you more effectively do these things? And that's what I want to talk about next. So within Impruver, there's a feature called strategy deployment. And I call it a feature, but it's really so deeply integrated, you almost want to call it, this is the software itself. It's almost like saying that a finger on your hand is a feature. It's like, no, it's not a feature. It's just a part of it. And the whole system sort of works together in that way so seamlessly. So let's talk strategy deployment in Impruver. So inside Impruver, there is a strategy deployment functionality. And the way it works is every user in the system that works for your company goes into the system. This could be a multi-plant operation, multiple levels of leadership, all the way from the CEO down to the lowest levels within the organization chart, okay? Everyone goes in and commits to an improvement plan. This is they're setting a vision. Here's what I'd like to accomplish long-term with my area of responsibility. A target condition. Here's the short-term project that I'm going to work on next, when I think it can be achieved by, and the current condition. So if your CEO says, you know what, we can win this market, we can win that next big account, huge account, if we become the shortest lead time producer in the market. So the CEO's critical to success element or factor or objective might be lowest lead time in the industry, okay? That objective should cascade throughout the entire organization. If I'm a middle manager and I'm going into the system to declare, hey, here's what I'm going to focus on, it should probably say something about I'm going to reduce lead time in my area of responsibility. That's the first step in strategy deployment. Talk about 3 steps. That's the first step. The second step is the feedback loop. Once I put my objective in, what I'm going to focus on improving, my manager or my supervisor or my boss will have an opportunity to go into the system and ensure that my plan for improvement is aligned with his or her plan for improvement. As a mid-level manager, I'll have the same opportunity to do that with my direct reports as well. This also has a very powerful effect in the agility that your organization has. If the CEO says, you know what, lead time is no longer the strategic advantage for the company. You may be a year in and this was a 5-year plan. You may be a year in and the CEO realizes, man, you know what, we got it wrong. Lead time is not the right answer. We need to become the lowest cost producer. For example, in this case, the CEO can go into the system, change their strategic plan, and it sends notifications and it triggers the cascade of the new strategy throughout the organization. That's immensely powerful. Now, you don't necessarily want to do that. You want to get the strategy right and you want to stick to the same plan and give the organization time to execute it. But in that event that happens, I would imagine it happens on occasion. You want to make sure you got the capability to effectively deploy the new strategy throughout the organization. Impruver helps you do exactly that. Once you're in the system, you also have visibility to every other user in the system. This allows you to help mitigate any cross-functional conflicts that might inherently exist in the deployment of strategy. You can go and see what your peers are focusing on. You can go see what your manager's peers are focusing on. You can go in, if you're a shop floor operator on line 2 at a Chicago plant, you can actually go and see what the CEO is focused on. And then you can ensure down the entire chain of command within the organization that there is strong alignment from level to level. So when you develop your plans and as you think about what you're going to work to improve, you can just ensure that you're in alignment all the way to the top of the organization. And you can do the same thing all the way to the bottom. Within Impruver, this feature challenges your organization to focus on the single most important thing to bring value to your customer and to your company. And then deploy that single thing throughout the organization. This creates immense focus and momentum toward creating the most possible value. And as priorities change, your target conditions can change as well. In later videos, we'll talk about the deployment mechanism that's built into Impruver that helps you leverage your CI function to more effectively deploy strategy. This is Calvin Williams with Impruver Technologies. I hope you liked the video. If so, make sure to click subscribe for more like this. If there's any questions that we can answer for you, visit us at www.impruver.com. Thanks for your time.